Imagine your modern car. It has heated seats, it has a massive touchscreen dashboard, it has advanced autopilot features. You can cruise down a highway at 120 kilometers per hour while casually sipping a warm coffee. It feels completely safe, luxurious, and normal. But 130 years ago, cars were loud, terrifying, smoke belching death traps. The story of how we traded horse poop for combustion engines is absolutely chaotic. Our journey begins in the late 19th century. For thousands of years, if humans wanted to go somewhere fast, they strapped their cargo to a horse. But cities were growing rapidly. Millions of horses meant millions of kilograms of toxic manure filling the streets daily. It was a massive environmental crisis. Enter Carl Benz in the year 1886. He patented the first official automobile. It was called the patent motor wagon. It didn't look like a car. It looked like a giant metallic three-wheeled tricycle. It possessed a tiny one-cylinder engine. It generated less than 1 horsepower. Its absolute maximum top speed was a blazing 16 kilometers per hour. A fast human runner could easily outpace it. Early cars were highly unreliable. They leaked black oil everywhere. They made a deafening, metallic clanking noise. They constantly broke down after driving just a few meters. People in towns absolutely hated them. They would scream at drivers to get a horse. Governments were completely panicked by these self-moving machines. In the United Kingdom, they passed a hilarious piece of legislation called the Red Flag Act. By law, a car could not exceed a speed limit of just 6 kilometers per hour in towns. Furthermore, a pedestrian had to walk 60 meters ahead of the car at all times. This person had to wave a bright red flag to warn oncoming horseback riders. If the driver accidentally accelerated, they would literally run over their own flagman. Operating these early cars was also physically dangerous. There were no electronic starter buttons. To turn on the engine, you had to walk to the front of the vehicle. You had to insert a heavy iron hand crank into the motor. Then, you had to spin it with all your muscle. If the engine misfired, the heavy iron crank would violently snap backward. It would instantly fracture your wrist or shatter your arm bones. By the 1920s, mass production changed everything. Henry Ford built the Model T. Cars became affordable for everyday families. Suddenly, millions of steel boxes were flooding the roads. But there was a massive catch. These cars were incredibly fast, reaching speeds of 80 kilometers per hour, but they had zero safety features. For decades, cars were built like solid steel military tanks. Car companies marketed this as a safety feature. They claimed thick steel would protect you. This was a total scientific lie. If you crashed a solid steel 1950s car at just 50 kilometers per hour, the car chassis would barely bend. But your body inside the car kept moving forward at 50 kilometers per hour. Because there were no seatbelts, passengers were launched like human rockets straight through the glass windshield. Even worse, the steering column was a solid, unyielding metal rod pointing directly at the driver's chest. In a frontal collision, the steering wheel acted like a literal medieval spear. The automotive industry finally changed in 1959. An engineer named Niels Bohlin was working for Volvo. He invented the modern three-point safety belt. It secured both the chest and the lap. It was a masterpiece of life-saving engineering. Volvo realized this invention was too important to keep secret. They gave the patent away to every rival car manufacturer for free. They chose saving human lives over corporate profits. As engines grew more powerful, cars faced a brand new enemy: invisible air. Early cars were shaped like literal household bricks. But when you drive over 100 kilometers per hour, air resistance acts like a solid wall of invisible concrete. Branded brick-shaped cars actually began to lift off the road at high speeds. Engineers began studying nature. They started copying the aerodynamic profiles of fish, birds, and falling raindrops. Cars became sleek, curved, and smooth. This drastically reduced wind drag and saved massive amounts of fuel. Today, we have electric hypercars that can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in less than 2 seconds. We have computers that scan the road to prevent accidents before they happen. We spent over a century turning a dangerous, arm-breaking tricycle into a rolling spaceship, all because humanity collectively decided that walking was simply too much work. Think about that the next time you step on the gas pedal. If a driver from 1886 saw you driving your current car, what feature would freak them out the most? The touchscreen? The lack of horse manure? Drop your wildest thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button to keep your brain moving, and we will see you next time on the Evolution Sketchbook.